Hello, I'm Iron Bear from the Connecticut Ultimate Wargaming Club with a new video for GutsNGears. Today I'm talking tactics with Dan. You may know him as the press ganger Shadow 37.
How's it going, everybody? Well, because of the new publishing of the War Machine Mark II book for Khador, I figured I'd give the Butcher a try with his new theme force.
That sounds good, but first we have to thank our sponsors for the week. Rusk's own premium blend vodka.
A Rusk's own, best served with ice.
So Dan, what did you bring us today?
Well, I brought one of my favorite warcasters since I started playing War Machine, the Butcher. And today I'll be using a 50-point list with him.
Which tier list did you decide to use?
I went for a Prime Butcher this time, and the name of it's the Heart of Darkness.
Ooh.
This is a 50-point list. It includes the Butcher of Kardov, a minimal unit of Man-O-War Shock Troopers, a minimum unit of Demo Corps, a minimum unit of Cossite Woodsmen, Yuri the Axe, 2 Manhunters, a full unit of Winter Guard Infantry with the unit attachment, Widowmakers, 2 Juggernauts, a Marauder, and last but not least, a War Dog. Let's start with the Warjacks. Butcher's Tier 4 benefit allows Warjacks in Butcher's battle group without ranged weapons to gain advanced deployment. For Khador Jacks, this is a great benefit considering their low speed. I chose 2 Juggernauts and a Marauder because they're cheap to field, they can soak up a lot of damage, and they can hit like a Mack truck. Since none of my Jacks have ranged attacks, I want to get them into melee as soon as possible. I chose to field Winter Guard in this list for their versatility. They can take out high armor targets with combined ranged attack, clear mobs of infantry and stealth targets with their sprays. They can also serve as a great tar pit unit. By combining their bob and weave with iron flesh, they can get up to a respectable defense 17. Lastly, sprays combined with Butcher's Feet is a great way to clear out high armor infantry and multi-wound models. For this list, I plan on using my Winter Guard as a tar pit unit so as to give my Jacks a better chance to get into combat without getting charged. My unit of Demo Corps will serve as my countercharge line. Butcher's Tier 2 benefit gives all Man-O-War +2 speed during my first turn, which again is terrific for this unit. Like my Jacks, I want this unit to get up the field very fast. I'll probably cast Fury in this unit for 6 P+S 17 hammer attacks. Anything that survives my first 2 waves of Winter Guard and Jacks will have to contend with these guys. My Shock Troopers, on the other hand, will serve a different role. Since the Butcher sits on a medium base, I want my Shock Troopers to help block line of sight to him. I'm hoping with their naturally high armor and shield wall, they'll be able to protect the Butcher until the end game. If needed, they could dish out some pretty decent damage with their combined melee attack. Now, I was very pleased to see Widowmakers included in the Butcher's theme force. Their role will be to provide my main force with range support by taking out important enemy solos, single wound infantry, and high defense targets. Manhunters, in my opinion, are one of Khador's most valuable solos. Their role will be to harass enemy units, take out high priority targets, and flank my opponent. Yuri will fill a similar role as the Manhunter. Yuri's reach allows for a little extra threat range. He also gives Manhunters and Cossite Woodsmen the Tree Walker ability. Being able to draw a line of sight through forest can be very useful when positioning for a charge. For me, Cossite Woodsmen have always been a fun unit to play. I've included them in this list to split my opponent's attention and to help my main force advance up the field. Cossites are useful for taking out support units and solos such as choirs and journeyman warcasters. The War Dog is there because he's a solid 1-point model. I like using the War Dog's countercharge ability to engage arc nodes that try to get too close to my warcaster. Finally, the Butcher himself. For this list, he doesn't need to be in the front line to be effective. Unless I have a charge lane directly to my opponent's caster, the plan is to keep him back safe and to cast spells. Eventually, I'll want to have cast Iron Flesh on my Winter Guard, Fury on my Demo Corps, and use the rest of my focus to cast Full Throttle and add extra armor to the Butcher. I'll make it a point to move Butcher closer to the front line when it's time to pop his feet. Blood Frenzy.
Well, that looks like a formidable list, but before we go on, let's take a moment and pause for this week's sponsor.
Fellow citizens of Khador, are you worried that your son or daughter has not grown facial hair by the age of 9? Are you ashamed of your son trying to disguise his lack of beard? Fear not. A mixture of a Rusk's own premium brand vodka and gunpowder on the young soldier's lower jaw will sprout enough hair to make Joseph Grigorovich do an about-face. A Rusk's own, best served with ice.
And we're back.
So, you've shown us the units. How do you put them all together?
This list is all about hitting your opponent's army fast and hard. On the other hand, you shouldn't throw caution to the wind. That's what Epic Butcher's list is for. As my main force speeds up the board, the Manhunters, Widowmakers, and Cossite Woodsmen will be busy tying up the enemy units and causing general discord in the opponent's ranks. Although the Butcher can take out casters on his own, I'm going to be relying on my army to do the heavy lifting. This army is dangerous right down to the last model. Now, like with any list, there are some weaknesses and some strengths. One of the weaknesses I found in this list are its few magical attacks. This can be a problem with models such as Pistol Wraiths and Machine Wraiths. 2, there's no way to increase the threat range. Unfortunately, Butcher does not have Boundless Charge. 3, no way to mitigate rough terrain for your main force. There's a number of models such as Widowmakers and Manhunters who have Pathfinder, but there's no way to give Pathfinder to any other models in the list. Lastly, there's limited long-range support. Now, there's been a number of strengths I've already mentioned, but let me review. Most of the models in this list can dish out quite a bit of damage. Not only that, but a majority of the models are very difficult to destroy. Butcher's feat can make every model a big threat. The Butcher is a very good late-game warcaster. If worst comes to worst, a player can cast Iron Flesh on the Butcher, camp all the focus, and he becomes a defense 17, armor 22 force of destruction with 20 damage boxes. Needless to say, he will be a headache for your opponent. Don't forget that the Butcher has terror. With fewer models being fearless now in Mark II, this ability may come in useful. Another late game maneuver is a combined ranged attack from Winterguard under Butcher's feet. Full Throttle can make your jacks very accurate. With Full Throttle, you can do power attacks for free and the attack roll is boosted. Here's a good assassination trick that has worked for me many times in the past. First, you're going to be putting 3 focus on your Juggernaut. When it's Butcher's turn, you cast Full Throttle. Have the Juggernaut trample, and if he's able to get into within melee of the enemy Warcaster, he'll have 3 focus to spend using Ice Axe attacks. Now this is the way I play Butcher. I'm sure there are many other ways to play him.
Well, I hope that was informative and inspiring for all you aspiring Khador commanders. For the Connecticut Ultimate Wargamers Club and GutsNGears, I'm George.
And I'm Dan. Thanks for watching, and just remember, play like you've got a pair.
Well, I've never seen anything like that.
What was it?
How should I know? I wasn't watching.
Why didn't I think of that?